Hey, you evangelized friends, Lisa Canning here for another coaching video. My husband Josh and I just came out of a really beautiful event for Alpha, wrapping up the GTA campaign. If you are familiar, in the GTA this fall, they ran a $900,000 media campaign. So there were billboards, huge wall murals in subways, a big social media and Facebook spend. And today's event was just sort of wrapping up and sharing collective highlights and celebrating the day. And the one thing that really struck me was Shayla, their executive, the director for Canada. She prayed at the end, and she prayed this beautiful prayer of encouragement, and it really encouraged me, and so I wanted to hop on here and share it with you. And she just prayed like very sincerely for any churches that are focused on looking inward, that they may be given the words to look outward. And so I just wanted to pop in here and talk about what to do when you feel like you just desperately want to look outward. You desperately want to evangelize and reach your communities and change the world, but sometimes you feel like your church looks inward and maybe focuses on activities that don't reach a greater audience or reach the neighborhood or what have you. What do you do? Because it can be challenging when you just really want to go hi Lisa, when you want to look outward and you kind of feel like your church is primarily looking inward. So what do we do when that happens? One thing I know my spiritual director would tell me is that we have to remember our sphere of influence. So there are there are areas that we can go as lay people. I'm speaking myself as a married business woman and mom of 6 kids, and there are certain things that I can influence, and there are certain things that I cannot. And so the direction my church goes and the strategy, if you will, that it goes, I may or may not be able to influence due to many different factors. But what we can influence, and this is what I know my spiritual director would tell me, is what can we influence? What do we have power over in our lives? What circles of people do we have in our lives that we can influence? So you might not be able to influence the way that your RCIA program runs at your church. You might not be able to influence the way your marriage preparation program goes at your church. You might not be able to influence the way your evangelization efforts at large in your parish go at your church. That could be really frustrating for you. I just want to empathize, and I know there are many members in this community, in our You Evangelize community, that really desire their churches to look outward and can get frustrated when they feel like maybe progress isn't moving fast. But like I said, what sphere of influence do we have? And so what I think we can do when we get frustrated or when we feel like, gosh, I just want to look outward, is see, what can we do to go outward? This is why I like the tool. And just to remind you, in our module 4 on tools, we've got tons of resources on things that you can do that you don't need really anyone's permission except for yourself, maybe your spouse, kind of thing. Like, you just need to talk about scheduling and how you'll actually do it logistically. But there is nothing stopping anyone from doing something evangelization based in the home. And I can think of many different ways. So it could be running an alpha in your home. It could be an alpha targeted to moms, stay-at-home moms. So you could do an alpha that is so specifically targeted for right after drop-off of kids at school. You say, hey, come guys at 9:30, walk on over to my house. I'm going to have coffee and cookies and breakfast, and we're going to run an alpha. Discovery is an amazing introductory, low threshold program. Again, it's in our module on tools, or even just intentionally discipling people. And what does that mean? We did a really beautiful expert interview with Tim Glemkowski, and you can go back and look at that in the expert interviews in the bonus resources section of your member portal. And he shares at the very end of the interview what he wishes everyone knew about evangelization. And that's what he shared. He shared, like, really, if everyone could get 6 people together and just disciple those 6 people intentionally, imagine the ripple effect that could have on our communities. So the real key message of this coaching video, and hey Lisa, as a parish worker, I love hearing input from people, especially when they are living the gospel. Lisa, hi, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for your comment. So if you are getting frustrated, if you feel like, gosh, I just wish, we did more, what could you do more that you do have a sphere of influence over? And what can you actually do even in the daily rhythm of your life? You could be a stay-at-home mom who invites other moms over. You could be a business person. Today at the event hosted by Alpha, they shared how people on the path, business people on the path, which is like a, how do I explain what the path is? It's just a series of connected underground sort of tunnels that connects all of the financial businesses or buildings downtown Toronto. So business leaders on the path were having alphas in their boardrooms. What can you build around, again, things that already exist, like soccer practice or like a ballet class, or even things like if your children need to go to a catechism class of some kind, could you run a parallel program? If the church doesn't have space, could you have it in the coffee shop that's like walking distance to the church? So I just want to encourage anyone who sometimes feels frustrated and wishes they could do more, but feels like perhaps the communities that they're in aren't moving or aren't looking outward. What could you do that your sphere of influence does have, that you actually can have influence over? And just think and pray and let the Holy Spirit. The final thing I want to share from this day that we were just at was the power of the Holy Spirit. So again, Shayla, the National Director for Canada, shared a really beautiful story about how this businesswoman had all these questions about spirituality, and so some mutual friends connected them together, and how it was just an incredible and very astounding conversation. I want to say that's the word she used, just how open this woman was, this big leader, business leader, 80,000 employees under her, and how she was just so desperate and wanting. I believe the word she used was the light that is in you, that she was talking about Shayla. How does it feel to live with that light? And Shayla just invited her, that this light is for you as well. And so the power of the Holy Spirit is already having a conversation with so many people in our lives. And we just kind of can show up at the time that the Holy Spirit might be prompting. And that's just a conversation that doesn't necessarily need, a big plan or a big meeting or some kind of big, push from an organization or a group. That can just be you being docile to the Holy Spirit and entering into and coming alongside a conversation that the Holy Spirit is already having. That really encouraged me. I hope it encourages you as well in whatever you're doing to spread the gospel today and to bring Christ to others. All right, God bless you, and lots of love to everybody in our You Evangelize community. Talk to you guys again soon.